Morning is not just the beginning of another day. It is the battlefield where your destiny is decided. The first few minutes after you open your eyes set the tone for the next 24 hours, and whether you realize it or not, you are already making choices. Most people stumble into this battlefield unarmed. They grab their phone, scroll endlessly, absorb the chaos of the world, and let external noise dictate their emotions. By the time they finish their coffee, they have already surrendered their peace, their focus, and their strength. But the Stoics understood something most people will never grasp. Your mornings are sacred. They are the forge where your character is shaped, the training ground where you prepare to meet both friends and enemies, fortune and misfortune, triumph and defeat. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, captured this reality in his private meditations. Each morning, he would remind himself, "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." Imagine waking up as ruler of the most powerful empire on earth and beginning your day by anticipating betrayal, arrogance, and dishonesty. Yet instead of despairing, Marcus used this truth as armor. He chose to face the day not with naive hope that people would be different, but with the unshakable conviction that his peace depended only on him. That preparation gave him a strength no opponent could steal. Now, modern science echoes what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is in its most plastic state, the most moldable, within minutes of waking. Your first thoughts are not harmless. They are instructions, programming your neural pathways like code. They determine your automatic responses, the way you interpret setbacks, and even the confidence you carry into every decision. If you flood your mind with negativity, distractions, or other people's problems, you are literally wiring yourself for stress and weakness. But if you speak truth, clarity, and discipline into your mind, you wire yourself for calm power, resilience, and unshakable confidence. This is why the morning is not casual. It is sacred ground. What you do in those first few minutes decides whether you walk into the world as a warrior or as prey. The Stoics discovered a set of declarations, 10 deliberate truths, that when spoken each morning, can transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. These are not fantasies or wishful affirmations. They are grounded, reality-tested principles. They worked for emperors leading armies. They worked for generals enduring imprisonment and torture. They worked for philosophers facing exile and death. And they continue to work today for entrepreneurs, athletes, creators, and anyone who dares to rise above mediocrity. Imagine starting your day by reminding yourself that your worth does not depend on today's outcomes. Imagine carrying the certainty that no one can disturb your peace without your permission. Imagine facing challenges and seeing them not as punishments, but as opportunities to grow stronger. What would happen to your life if discipline, not fleeting motivation, became your foundation? These 10 declarations are the bridge from chaos to clarity, from fragility to fortitude. Each one targets a weakness that holds people hostage: fear, comparison, procrastination, emotional reactivity, and doubt. Together, they build a fortress of the mind, a shield for the soul, and a compass for every storm. Over the course of this journey, I will guide you through each of these declarations in detail. We will explore the wisdom of the Stoics, the discoveries of neuroscience, and the practical tools that allow you to apply both to your daily life. By the end, you will not just understand these truths, you will embody them. But before we begin, I must ask you to make a choice. This is not entertainment. This is training. These words are not meant to simply inspire you for a moment. They are meant to transform you for a lifetime. And transformation requires commitment. So, if you are ready to take control of your mornings, if you are ready to master your emotions, protect your peace, and build the strength to face whatever life throws at you, then take action now. Hit the subscribe button. Join the True Stoic Way community, an army of warriors who refuse to let life just happen to them. Because your mornings shape your days shape your life, and your life shapes your legacy. Make it count. Declaration number 1. I am responsible for how today feels. There is a moment, subtle yet decisive, that determines whether your day will be owned by you or stolen by the world. That moment is when you recognize, or fail to recognize, that your emotions belong to you. Most people surrender this power before breakfast. They hand over their peace to traffic jams, to an angry email from their boss, to the unpredictable moods of partners or children, to the endless stream of headlines and notifications on their phone. Without realizing it, they live as emotional dependents, chained to the whims of forces they cannot control. But the truth, the liberating truth, is this: I am responsible for how today feels. This is the first declaration because it is the foundation of all the others. It is emotional independence, the refusal to outsource your inner world to external events. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived years in Nazi concentration camps, discovered this principle under the most brutal conditions imaginable. He was stripped of everything: his possessions, his family, his health, even his freedom. But there was one thing his captors could never take away: his ability to choose how he would respond. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." If Frankl could find freedom in the midst of horror, then we too can claim it in our everyday struggles. Emotional independence does not mean you will never feel sadness, frustration, or fear. It means you recognize those emotions as visitors, not permanent residents. You decide whether they stay. When you accept responsibility for how today feels, you stop blaming traffic, weather, or other people's behavior for your mood. You reclaim the authority to direct your own inner life. Think about how this principle applies today. At work, a colleague might undermine your idea in a meeting. Without emotional independence, you spend the rest of the day replaying their words, growing more bitter, more insecure. But with this declaration, you pause, breathe, and remind yourself, their behavior does not own my peace. I am responsible for my emotions. Immediately, the situation shifts. The sting of the insult loses its grip, and you carry on with clarity. Or consider social media. A stranger leaves a harsh comment. If you allow their words to dictate your feelings, you give them free rent in your mind. But when you affirm, I am responsible for how today feels, you decide that your self-worth is not up for auction in the marketplace of opinions. Even in family life, the principle applies. Perhaps your child is in a bad mood, or your partner snaps after a long day. Emotional dependence would mean letting their tone poison your evening. Emotional independence means recognizing, their storm is not my storm. I can choose calm. How do we practice this? The Stoics believed repetition was the key to building inner strength. Each morning, place your hand over your heart and speak the words aloud. I am responsible for how today feels. My emotions are my choice. My peace is my decision. Today I choose strength over weakness, clarity over confusion, and hope over fear. This simple ritual rewires the mind. Neuroscience confirms that spoken affirmations, when repeated with intention, strengthen neural pathways and make chosen responses more automatic. You are literally programming your brain to seek resilience instead of reactivity. Here is a practical morning exercise you can try tomorrow. 1. Wake in silence. Before you touch your phone, sit up and place your hand on your chest. 2. Speak the declaration. Say it slowly, 3 times, with conviction. I am responsible for how today feels. 3. Visualize. Imagine yourself facing a challenge, traffic, criticism, or unexpected stress, and see yourself responding with calm strength. 4. Anchor the choice. Take 3 deep breaths and feel gratitude that no matter what the world brings, your response is yours to command. Do this for 7 days straight, and you will notice a profound shift. Instead of being a victim of your circumstances, you will begin to feel like the author of your day. You will discover a freedom most people never even know exists. Because when you declare, I am responsible for how today feels, you are not just making a statement. You are reclaiming your sovereignty. You are saying to the world, my peace is not for sale. My joy is not up for negotiation. My day belongs to me. Declaration number 2. Nothing can disturb my peace without my permission. Your peace of mind is not fragile glass. It is a fortress. And like every fortress, it stands or falls depending on whether the gatekeeper is awake. Most people live with their gates wide open. They allow every criticism, every piece of bad news, every careless comment, and every anxious thought to march right in and set up camp in their mind. By noon, their fortress is already overrun, but the Stoic learns to stand guard. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This was not a comforting slogan. It was a military strategy for the soul. As emperor, he faced betrayal in his court, war on the borders, and plagues in his cities. Yet he understood that none of these external forces could enter his inner world unless he granted them access. His fortress stood because he chose to be its guardian. Think of your mind like a computer network. Every day, billions of viruses, negative words, fearful thoughts, toxic opinions try to break through. Without a firewall, your system becomes corrupted. But when you declare, "Nothing can disturb my peace without my permission," you activate the firewall of awareness. You become the administrator who decides what gets through and what is blocked. This does not mean you ignore reality. A firewall doesn't pretend viruses don't exist. It identifies them and stops them at the gate. In the same way, the Stoic acknowledges what happens but refuses to give destructive forces permanent residency inside. Someone may insult you, but it is only data. You can let it pass through, or you can quarantine it before it infects your peace. Here lies the critical skill, the pause between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl, who endured years in concentration camps, described it perfectly. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Most people react instantly. Anger for insult, fear for uncertainty, despair for disappointment. But when you pause, even for a breath, you regain command. That pause is the moat that protects your fortress. Imagine you receive a cruel message on social media. The unguarded mind reacts instantly, drowning in anger or shame. But the guarded mind pauses. In that pause, you realize, this message is outside my control. Do I give it permission to define my day? Most often the answer is no. You delete it, move on, and your fortress remains unshaken. Or picture being stuck in traffic. Without a fortress, you let frustration storm your gates. But with awareness, you pause and remind yourself, the road is outside my control, but my peace is mine to guard. Instead of fuming, you turn the moment into practice, breathing, listening to an audiobook, or simply enjoying stillness. How do we train this discipline? Each morning, stand in front of a mirror and affirm aloud, "Nothing can disturb my peace without my permission. I am the guardian of my inner world. Today, only I decide who and what enters my mind." Then, throughout the day, practice the pause. Whenever you feel provoked, imagine standing at the gates of your fortress. Ask yourself, does this situation deserve entry? Will I allow it to occupy my mind? Often, the answer will be no. And with that, you disarm the threat. This practice transforms you from a reactor to a ruler. You stop being tossed around by external storms and begin to carry a calm that others notice but cannot explain. People will wonder why insults don't break you, why chaos doesn't rattle you, why setbacks don't define you. The answer is simple. Your fortress is guarded. If you value building this fortress, if you are ready to become the unshakable gatekeeper of your own peace, then subscribe to True Stoic Way and guard your peace daily with us. Because the world will never stop testing your defenses, but you can decide who and what gets in. Declaration number 3. Today I focus only on what I can control. One of the greatest sources of human misery is the attempt to control what cannot be controlled. Every day, countless people waste precious energy on things far beyond their reach. Politics, weather, other people's opinions, the economy, or the past. They wear themselves out wrestling shadows. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic teachers, cut through this chaos with one principle that has saved lives for 2,000 years: the dichotomy of control. He taught that existence can be divided into two categories: things within our power and things beyond it. Within our power are our thoughts, our choices, our actions, our words, and our attitudes. Beyond our power are everything else: the reactions of others, random events, natural disasters, the passing of time. To live well is to master this distinction. To suffer needlessly is to ignore it. But modern life is complicated. That is why philosophers and psychologists often describe three circles. 1. The circle of control. Your direct domain, your effort, your decisions, your habits. 2. The circle of influence. Areas you can shape but not command. Team dynamics at work, your children's attitudes, the culture of your environment. 3. The circle of concern. Everything else, the stock market, global politics, other people's moods, accidents of fate. The Stoic approach is clear. Put 90% of your attention on the first circle, 10% on the second, and none on the third. Think of an entrepreneur. If she fixates on market crashes and government policies, circle of concern, she will be paralyzed by fear. But if she focuses on her products, her service, and her work ethic, circle of control, she creates progress regardless of outside storms. Or consider the military commander. He cannot control weather, terrain, or the enemy's hidden strategies. What he can control is the training of his soldiers, the discipline of his units, and the clarity of his orders. Armies that obsess over uncontrollable factors lose. Armies that concentrate on their controllables adapt and prevail. Even in sports, the principle is obvious. An athlete cannot control the referee's calls, the opponent's talent, or the cheering crowd. But he can control his preparation, his focus, and his execution. Champions are born when players stop shouting at referees and start mastering themselves. How does this apply to you, in the ordinary rhythm of a morning? Before your day begins, take a blank page and divide it into 3 columns. Label them control, influence, concern. Then list the things on your mind. Perhaps you write, my workload, my boss's opinion, the economy, my child's behavior, my health, the weather. Then sort them. Your health, circle of control. You can eat well and exercise. Your workload, control. You can prioritize tasks. Your boss's opinion, influence. You can present your best, but you can't dictate approval. The economy, concern, outside your reach. The weather, concern, entirely indifferent to your will. When you see your worries mapped out in black and white, clarity emerges. You stop scattering your energy like confetti in the wind and start investing it like gold in the soil you actually own. Anxiety weakens, peace returns. This is the heart of the declaration. Today I focus only on what I can control. Say it aloud each morning. Write it down. Let it sink into your bones. Because when you release the uncontrollable, you are not giving up. You are growing wise. You are choosing effectiveness over anxiety, influence over helplessness, calm over chaos. Imagine living a day without obsessing over someone else's approval. Imagine moving through challenges without being crushed by outcomes you cannot dictate. Imagine ending the day knowing you gave full effort where you had power and released the rest to fate. That is Stoic freedom. That is peace. So tomorrow morning, take up your pen, draw your 3 circles, and remind yourself, my energy belongs only where my choices live. Today I focus only on what I can control. Declaration number 4. My worth is not measured by today's outcomes. Most of us are conditioned from childhood to tie our value to results. If we perform well, we feel worthy. If we fail, we feel worthless. Life becomes a brutal roller coaster, soaring on success, crashing on setbacks. But the Stoics taught that true dignity cannot be chained to outcomes. It is rooted in something deeper, something untouchable. Seneca, one of Rome's greatest philosophers and wealthiest men, understood this truth the hard way. He rose to immense influence as an advisor to emperors, enjoying riches, fame, and power. Yet fortune turned. First came exile, stripped from Rome and banished by Emperor Caligula. Later, under Nero, he was accused of conspiracy and ordered to take his own life. In those final hours, stripped of wealth, status, and breath itself, Seneca demonstrated what he had always written, that external outcomes are fleeting but inner worth is eternal. The Stoics called these external results preferred indifference. Success, wealth, recognition, health, yes, they are preferred, but they do not define who you are. Not getting them does not make you less human, less valuable, or less deserving of respect. A coin tossed by fortune does not determine your soul's weight. Now think of our modern world. We wake up measuring our lives through metrics that don't touch our essence. KPIs at work, likes on social media, the number of deals closed, the approval of bosses or followers. A post gets ignored, and suddenly your mood collapses. Your quarterly report is lower than expected and your sense of self shrinks. You don't hit a goal, and you feel like you're nothing. But this is slavery, handing your dignity over to forces you cannot fully control. When you declare, "My worth is not measured by today's outcomes," you break this chain. You remind yourself, "I am valuable because I exist, not because of what I achieve. My essence is intact whether today ends in triumph or defeat." This doesn't mean you stop striving. Stoicism is not an excuse for laziness or mediocrity. You still pursue excellence, but you no longer gamble your self-respect on the dice of circumstance. You separate effort from identity. You can be disappointed in results without being destroyed by them. You can celebrate victories without being enslaved to them. Here's a simple practice to anchor this truth. Each morning, write 2 columns in your journal. Effort. What actions, choices, and attitudes will I bring today? Identity. Who am I, regardless of outcomes? In the first column, you might write, "I will give my best in the meeting. I will listen with patience. I will approach my work with integrity." In the second, write, "I am valuable because I am alive. I am worthy of love and respect regardless of results. I am not on trial today." By the end of the day, review your effort column. Ask, did I live my values? If yes, then the day was a success, no matter what external scoreboard says. This shift is liberating. Suddenly, you are not crushed by failure or addicted to applause. You are steady. You are free. Remember Seneca in his exile and in his final hour. They could exile his body, take his wealth, and silence his voice, but they could never strip him of his worth. That truth is just as available to you. At True Stoic Way, we remind you daily that your worth is not up for negotiation. Subscribe and walk with us, because your value has never depended on today's outcomes, and it never will. Declaration number 5, I will act, not just intend. The road to failure is paved with good intentions. Every morning, millions of people wake up filled with plans. Plans to start exercising, to call their parents, to launch that business, to finally write the first chapter of the book that's been haunting them for years. And yet by evening, those intentions remain untouched. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next year, and eventually dreams dissolve into regret. The difference between those who change the world and those who only fantasize about change is not talent or luck, it is action. Intention without action is self-deception dressed in noble clothing. Marcus Aurelius knew this truth. Each morning he reminded himself, "In the morning when you rise unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to the work of a human being." He understood that life is not measured by what we mean to do, but by what we actually do. The Stoics were suspicious of people who spoke of philosophy but did not live it. Wisdom to them was action in motion, not theory on parchment. Modern psychology echoes this. Researchers describe a tool called implementation intention, a strategy where you connect your goals to a specific behavior. Instead of vague hopes like, "I want to exercise," you create a clear statement. When the alarm rings at 6 a.m., I will put on my shoes and jog for 20 minutes. This tiny shift from intention to concrete action dramatically increases follow-through. The Stoics knew this long before science gave it a name. You must bind thought to deed. Consider the story of a young startup founder. He spent months sketching ideas, refining his pitch, and visualizing success. But his company only began to take shape when he acted, when he sent the first email, made the first sale, and faced the first rejection. Or think of the aspiring author who filled journals with notes about her book for years. The dream became reality only when she sat down every morning to write 500 words, no matter how imperfect. In both cases, the act of doing, not dreaming, created transformation. So how do you close the gap? Here are 3 practical techniques. 1. Anchor your actions to triggers. Decide in advance. After I finish brushing my teeth, I will write 1 paragraph. When I drink my morning coffee, I will plan my top 3 tasks. By tying actions to existing habits, you reduce friction. 2. Embrace imperfect starts. The perfect time will never arrive. The Stoics understood that delay is often cowardice in disguise. Begin now with what you have. Progress, not perfection, is the goal. 3. Declare it aloud. Each morning, look in the mirror and affirm, I will act, not just intend. My intentions mean nothing without my actions. Speaking the commitment out loud makes it real, embedding it into your identity. When you adopt this mindset, you stop being a spectator in your own life. You quit waiting for permission or motivation. You become the main character, the one who steps into the arena, who risks, who learns, who grows. Ask yourself tonight, would I rather fail at action or succeed at hesitation? The Stoic answer is clear. Action, even imperfect, shapes destiny. Inaction shapes nothing but regret. So tomorrow morning, rise with conviction. Anchor your goals to action. Begin, however small. Because a single act, 1 sentence written, 1 call made, 1 step taken, can shift the entire course of your life. Say it with me. I will act, not just intend. And then, prove it. Declaration number 6. Every challenge is a chance to grow stronger. Most people view obstacles as curses, as punishments thrown into their path. But the Stoics turned this perspective upside down. To them, difficulty was not an enemy. It was the gymnasium of the soul, the very place where strength is forged. Admiral James Stockdale, a U.S. Navy pilot shot down during the Vietnam War, was captured and endured more than 7 years as a prisoner of war. He faced torture, isolation, and uncertainty about whether he would ever see freedom again. Yet Stockdale credited Stoic philosophy for his survival. He lived by what later became known as the Stockdale paradox, the ability to balance unwavering faith that you will prevail with the brutal acceptance of your present reality. He never pretended things were better than they were, yet he never lost belief that he would ultimately endure. That paradox gave him strength no prison could break. Marcus Aurelius expressed the same principle in his Meditations. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is more than poetic wisdom. It is a formula for resilience. Every obstacle contains within it the seed of transformation. The wall in front of you is not blocking your path, it is shaping it. How do we live this truth? The answer is reframing. When life presents pain, you reframe it as training. Hardship is not punishment, it is preparation. Athletes know this instinctively. Muscles do not grow by resting in comfort. They grow by straining under resistance. Every bead of sweat, every sore joint, is proof of strength being built. Soldiers understand it as well. Military training is deliberately brutal, not because commanders enjoy suffering, but because they know that resilience forged in the training ground saves lives in battle. The discomfort of drills becomes the shield against chaos. Even illness, though unwanted, can become a training ground. The patient who endures pain with dignity, who learns patience in the face of slow recovery, who discovers gratitude in small improvements, such a person often emerges with a depth of strength unknown to the healthy. The key is not to seek suffering, but to reinterpret it when it arrives. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of seeing a closed door, see a chance to cultivate patience, endurance, or courage. Here is a simple practice. Each morning before the day unfolds, whisper to yourself, "Whatever comes today, it comes to train me." Then, when the challenge appears, an angry client, a sudden setback, a personal disappointment, pause and say, "Here is today's training. Here is my chance to grow." This shift is powerful. Instead of shrinking from adversity, you begin to welcome it as a coach. Instead of cursing difficulty, you see it as a hidden ally. Life stops being a random series of punishments and starts becoming a carefully designed curriculum. Think about this. If resistance makes muscles stronger and difficulty makes character stronger, then every hardship is secretly an investment in your future self. So let today's obstacles be your weights, your drills, your tests. Say with conviction, every challenge is a chance to grow stronger. I welcome difficulties as opportunities to build resilience. If you see life as training ground, join True Stoic Way. Subscribe and grow stronger with us, because only those who embrace the fire can become steel. Declaration number 7. I will not compare my journey to anyone else's. Comparison is a thief. It steals joy, focus, and gratitude, leaving behind frustration and envy. Every morning, millions of people open their phones and scroll through highlight reels of other lives, perfect vacations, flawless bodies, glowing careers, happy families. In seconds, they measure their reality against someone else's carefully curated performance and conclude that they are behind, inadequate, or unworthy. But here is the truth. Comparison is always a lie. You are comparing your behind-the-scenes reality, complete with struggles, doubts, and failures, to someone else's polished display. You cannot see their exhaustion, their insecurities, their private battles. You see the performance, not the process, and yet, we let that illusion dictate our self-worth. Epictetus warned against this trap. He taught how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself, to make it just and holy. The Stoics understood that your only meaningful competition is with the person you were yesterday. The question is never, am I better than them? The question is, am I better than I was? The damage of comparison is not limited to social media. Friends can unintentionally trigger it too. A colleague's promotion makes you question your career. A friend's marriage makes you doubt your own relationships. A sibling's success makes you feel small. But these comparisons ignore the uniqueness of your path. You did not start where they started. You do not carry the same strengths, weaknesses, or burdens. Their finish line is not yours. Think of an athlete who refuses to race against others and instead races only against his own time. His measure of success is not the medal, but whether he has improved by a fraction of a second. Day by day, he grows stronger because his gaze is inward, not sideways. This is the Stoic path. Life is not about outpacing your neighbor. It is about outpacing your past self. How can you practice this? Begin with 2 simple disciplines. 1. Gratitude journal. Each morning, list 3 things unique to your life that you are grateful for. They might be small: your morning coffee, the sound of birds, the smile of a loved one. Gratitude shifts your focus from what others have to what you already possess. 2. Self-measure ritual. At night, ask yourself, did I live better today than yesterday? Did I show more patience, courage, or focus? If yes, celebrate progress. If no, commit to a small improvement tomorrow. Over time, this inward measure builds confidence immune to comparison. When you declare, I will not compare my journey to anyone else's, you are reclaiming your freedom. You no longer let other people's timelines dictate your self-worth. You no longer let social media feed insecurity. You choose authenticity over illusion, progress over envy, self-respect over self-doubt. Repeat it aloud each morning. My path is unique. My timing is perfect. My progress is mine alone. I will not compare my journey to anyone else's. The moment you stop racing against others and start running your own race, peace enters. You can celebrate others' victories without questioning your own worth. You can honor your growth without seeking validation. And you can finally walk your path with the quiet confidence that it belongs to you, and only you. Declaration number 8. I choose discipline. Over motivation. Motivation is like the weather, unpredictable, shifting from sunshine to storm without warning. Some mornings you wake up inspired, ready to conquer the world. Other mornings you wake up heavy, unmotivated, and tempted to do nothing at all. If you depend on motivation, your progress will be as unstable as the skies. Discipline, on the other hand, is like breathing. You don't wait for the urge to breathe. You don't ask yourself whether you feel like it. You simply do it. Discipline works whether you feel like it or not. It is steady, dependable, and life-sustaining. The Stoic statesman Cato the Younger embodied this principle. Known for his unshakable integrity and resolve, he trained himself in austerity. Even in the freezing Roman winters, he would walk barefoot through the streets, strengthening his will against comfort. His enemies could bribe, threaten, or tempt him, but they could never sway him, because discipline, not feelings, ruled his choices. Modern life offers countless examples of this truth. The bodybuilder who trains at dawn does not rely on motivation. He knows motivation fades, but discipline gets him to the gym regardless. The entrepreneur who builds a business through sleepless nights is not fueled by constant excitement. She builds through discipline, through showing up every day whether inspired or exhausted. The artist who finishes a novel, a painting, or a symphony is rarely motivated every day. They complete their work because discipline has bound them to their craft. Motivation is emotion-driven. Discipline is value-driven. Motivation asks, "Do I feel like it?" Discipline declares, "I do it because it aligns with who I am." So how do you cultivate discipline? One practical method is the calendar of discipline. Take a calendar and mark an X each day you complete your chosen commitment, whether it's exercising, writing, studying, or practicing a skill. The goal is not perfection, but consistency. Each X becomes a brick in the wall of your character. As the chain of X's grows, so does your self-trust. Soon, discipline becomes part of your identity, not just a temporary effort. Another technique is to remind yourself daily that comfort is the enemy of greatness. When you feel resistance, recognize it as the training ground. Each time you act without waiting for motivation, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. Like any muscle, it grows through use. Every morning, stand tall and declare, "I choose discipline over motivation. My actions are not slaves to my feelings. Today, I will do what I said I would do, regardless of how I feel about it." When you live this way, people will notice. They will wonder why you achieve more than others with the same talent or resources. The answer is not luck or inspiration. It is discipline. Motivation visits and leaves. Discipline stays. Discipline creates destiny. If you want more daily Stoic discipline, subscribe to True Stoic Way now. Together, we will practice the habits that build unbreakable character and shape extraordinary lives. Declaration number 9. Gratitude will shape how I see the day. Your perspective shapes your reality. Two people can live through the same day. One feels blessed, the other feels cursed. The difference is not in the circumstances, but in the lens through which they see them. Gratitude is that lens, and it has the power to transform ordinary moments into extraordinary blessings. Neuroscience confirms what the Stoics intuited centuries ago. Studies on brain plasticity reveal that gratitude literally rewires neural pathways. When you consistently focus on what you already have, your brain creates new circuits that make you more optimistic, resilient, and content. Gratitude is not wishful thinking, it is neurological training. Over time, your default setting shifts from scarcity and complaint to abundance and appreciation. The Stoics practiced a powerful method called negative visualization. At first it sounds grim. They would imagine losing what they currently possessed, their health, their family, their home. But the purpose was not despair. It was awakening. By imagining life without these treasures, they heightened their appreciation for them in the present. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he could lose his loved ones at any moment, not to feel sorrow, but to cherish them more deeply. Epictetus taught that you should kiss your child goodnight as if it might be the last time, not to dwell on fear, but to magnify love. Consider what surrounds you right now. Your lungs draw breath without effort. Your heart beats faithfully, moment by moment. You have access to clean water, something billions across history could not take for granted. You may be reading these words on a device powered by technology that would have seemed like magic to ancient emperors. Yet how often do we wake up complaining about what is missing, blind to the miracles already present? To shape your day with gratitude, begin with a morning ritual. 1. Pause before distraction. Before you touch your phone or rush into tasks, sit quietly for 1 minute. 2. Name 3 blessings. Speak them aloud or write them down. They can be profound or simple. I am alive. I have shelter. I can breathe without pain. 3. Visualize loss, then return. Imagine just for a moment what life would feel like without one of those blessings. Then open your eyes and feel the surge of appreciation for its presence. 4. Carry one token of gratitude. Choose a word, phrase, or image that reminds you of what you appreciate. Return to it whenever stress threatens to steal your peace. When you build this ritual into your mornings, your entire day takes on a new quality. Instead of walking through the world focused on lack, you move with the awareness of abundance. Instead of bitterness, you cultivate resilience. Gratitude becomes your armor against envy, disappointment, and despair. The Stoics were not naive. They knew life is short, unpredictable, and often brutal. But they also knew that to ignore what we already have is to waste the gift of existence. Gratitude does not erase problems. It illuminates the blessings that exist alongside them. Repeat this declaration each morning. Gratitude will shape how I see the day. Today I choose appreciation over complaint, abundance over scarcity, and wonder over worry. Do this, and you will begin to see the world not as a burden to endure, but as a miracle to cherish. Declaration number 10. I will end the day better than I started. Each sunrise offers you a contract. What you do with the next 24 hours determines whether you grow or decline, whether you move closer to the person you want to become or drift further away. The Stoics understood that the true measure of a day is not how it began, but how it ended. Progress is not about perfection. It is about consistent improvement, however small. Seneca, advisor to emperors and one of Rome's wisest voices, practiced a powerful evening ritual. At night, he would sit quietly and ask himself, what wound did I heal today? What failing did I resist? Where can I show improvement? This was not self-punishment. It was self-honesty. By reviewing his day, he extracted wisdom from every mistake and growth from every struggle. Each evening became a classroom, each reflection a chance to refine his character. Modern science echoes his wisdom. Consider the principle of compound growth. If you improve just 1% each day, by the end of the year you will be 37 times better. Not through dramatic leaps, but through steady accumulation. Small victories build momentum. Tiny adjustments create transformation. 1% becomes a revolution of the self. Think about how this applies to modern life. In learning a skill, whether it's playing the guitar, coding software, or speaking a new language, progress is rarely instant. But if you practice a little each day, you accumulate mastery. In work, you may not land the promotion today, but if you end each day slightly wiser, more disciplined, more effective, eventually opportunity bends toward you. Even in relationships, one kind word, one patient response, one act of listening can build a foundation that years of neglect would otherwise destroy. The secret is intention. You cannot drift into growth. You must direct it. That is why this declaration is powerful. I will end the day better than I started. It reframes each day as an opportunity for growth rather than a trial to survive. Even if the day was messy, even if mistakes were made, you can still extract progress from it. Here is a simple evening practice you can adopt. 1. Journaling. Before bed, take 5 minutes to write down 3 reflections. What went well today? Where did I fall short? What can I improve tomorrow? This transforms experiences into lessons. 2. Score the day by effort, not outcome. Did you live with integrity? Did you act with courage? Did you show patience? These matter more than external results. 3. Close with gratitude. Even on difficult days, end by naming one thing you appreciate. Gratitude seals the day with perspective. By practicing this ritual, you create a rhythm of continuous improvement. Each night becomes a checkpoint, each morning a fresh opportunity. Even setbacks become stepping stones. Failure becomes data. Nothing is wasted because everything contributes to growth. Imagine living a year where you end every day just 1% better than you began. By the end, you would be transformed, not by one dramatic moment, but by thousands of small victories. That is the Stoic path. Slow, steady, relentless progress toward wisdom, resilience, and virtue. So declare it each night. I will end the day better than I started. Success or failure, I will learn, improve, and rise. In doing so, you honor the gift of time and ensure that no day is wasted. Conclusion: your mornings, your legacy. We have walked through 10 declarations, 10 deliberate truths that, when practiced each morning, transform not only your day, but your destiny. Each one is a weapon, a shield, and a compass, forged in the fires of Stoic wisdom and sharpened by centuries of human struggle. 1. I am responsible for how today feels. Emotional independence. No longer a victim of moods or circumstances, but the author of your inner state. 2. Nothing can disturb my peace without my permission. The fortress of the mind. You are the gatekeeper who decides what enters. 3. Today I focus only on what I can control. The dichotomy of control. Your energy belongs where it can make a difference. 4. My worth is not measured by today's outcomes. Freedom from external validation. You are valuable because you exist, not because of what you achieve. 5. I will act, not just intend. Closing the gap between thought and deed. Virtue is not theory, it is action. 6. Every challenge is a chance to grow stronger. Obstacles are training grounds. What resists you, refines you. 7. I will not compare my journey to anyone else's. Progress measured only against your past self. Authenticity over illusion. 8. I choose discipline over motivation, breath over weather, consistency over fleeting moods. 9. Gratitude will shape how I see the day. The lens of abundance. A rewired brain that finds blessing in every corner. 10. I will end the day better than I started. Small daily growth compounding into transformation. Together, these declarations form a complete philosophy of action. They are not theories to be admired or quotes to be saved. They are practices to be lived. Philosophy, for the Stoics, was never about clever words. It was about building the inner strength to face life's storms with clarity, courage, and calm. This is why your mornings matter. Each morning is a chance to shape your mind before the world shapes it for you. If you begin with distraction, you live distracted. If you begin with strength, you live strong. The declarations you choose to speak each dawn are the blueprints for the life you will build. But here is the most important truth. Change does not come from consuming information. It comes from practicing transformation. You cannot just nod in agreement with Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus. You must apply their wisdom. That begins not with all 10 declarations at once, but with one. So today, choose. Which declaration do you need most right now? Is it the reminder that your peace cannot be stolen without your consent? Is it the courage to act instead of intend? Is it the freedom of knowing your worth is not tied to outcomes? Choose one and live it today. Repeat it out loud. Carry it in your mind. Anchor it in your actions. Tonight, reflect on how it changed the course of your day. Tomorrow, choose again. Slowly, consistently, you will become unshakable. The Stoics did not promise an easy life. They promised a meaningful one. And meaning is built in the trenches of daily practice. These 10 declarations are not magic words. They are bricks, and each day you place one more into the fortress of your character. With time, you will stand inside walls so strong that no insult, no failure, no storm can break them. So here is the final challenge. Do not let this remain an inspiring idea. Make it your discipline. Pick your declaration today. Practice it. Share it. Let it grow into a habit, then into a lifestyle, then into a legacy. And if this resonates with you, don't just keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, comment your favorite declaration, share this with a warrior who needs it, and subscribe to True Stoic Way. Together, we are not just learning Stoicism, we are living it. Your mornings shape your days shape your life, and your life shapes your legacy. Now go, speak your declaration, live it, and write a story worthy of eternity.